you want to bring that you pitched when you threw your hat in the ring to direct this movie?
Well, I was lucky enough to receive a draft that was based on the third version of Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle has three, we mentioned in the movies, Dan Garrett, Ted Cord, and Jaime Reyes. And the fact that they were doing a superhero who is Latino, with Latino family, Latino environment, community, I feel like it was exactly what I would have loved to do, and specifically growing up, watching stories where we were not heroes. We were always the villain, or like terribly misrepresented. I was like, well, maybe this is a chance to make things right and maybe give a hero to a kid like me to finally see themselves represented accordingly. And yeah, I have to thank DC for allowing that and for taking that what they consider a risk, what we know is not a risk, but they consider it a risk, so they did it. And we had an amazing writer, Gareth Alcocer. He's Mexican, and he was able to pretty much make it as authentic to his experience. He's from Querétaro. Rudy, oh yeah, okay. Rudy is based out of his real life uncle who passed away during production. Yeah, he lost his battle with cancer, but now he's immortalized in this film.
How many of you saw one of your uncles in Rudy? Because I know my Uncle Peter was in there.
So, like, I was able to see, like, okay, this feels real, and being able to, get away with the messages that we wanted to talk about, not just, do the same story over and over, but really focus on the family. This for us was a family adventure coming of age story with superhero elements. So we really wanted to honor the family, create that empathy, so that every emotion that you guys felt was merecido.
Talk to me about this incredible cast, beginning with Soto and George Lopez and Bruna and everybody. How did you? He's dreaming. How long was that process, and how long did it take you to find the Reyes family?
So I knew of the bag that I wanted, Cholo. I had met Cholo years ago, and I was very much drawn to his personality and how he was with his family, because I met him like in 2019. So when the script came, I read it, I saw the comics. He's a copycat version of the comic of Jaime Reyes, but also the way Jaime relates to his family is just exactly how he relates to his. So for me, it was like, it is him. Plus, he has the martial arts background, which helps, because he did a lot of his stunts too. That's how good he is. I really love him.
I want to talk about the stunts for a second. First of all, I can tell you grew up with the same Voltron and Power Rangers. I did. And all the anime in those fight scenes. But you also talked to me about how much of it was practical.
Correct. Power Rangers is so like...
It's morphin' time!
It's morphin' time. And I was like, man, they did it, with very little resources, and they didn't have the same budget as other movies, but I think that worked to our favor because it forced us to use real stunts, and everything was cable work. Like, it wasn't, a game, it wasn't CG. He had enhancements in CG, of course, he didn't fly. But everything else, like even the spinning of the people, the kicks, the flying, smashing, that's all real people getting smashed. That's like real stunts getting hurt.
And I feel like you can tell the difference. You can tell when it's weightless sort of pixels and when things have gravity and when things land.
Correct.
And when the house, his transformation, talk to me a little bit about the house sequence, which is, it's very rare that like a superhero transformation gets as many laughs as you get, because you also have this Latin family just like this brujeria.
Well, I grew up watching matinee horror films. Like in Puerto Rico, for some reason they put horror films at 2 p.m. I used to. So my mom would be like cleaning the garage and I would be like running around and she's like, "Nene, vete pa'l cuarto, ve la televisión." So I would go to the room and watch TV. I just didn't know they were putting horror films. So I grew up watching The Blob, The Fly. So I was like,
Oh, The Fly. You're getting worse. I'm getting better.
like The Thing.
Yeah, I was similarly unsupervised.
I was very unsupervised watching movies. So I was like, of course those movies are not for kids, but I was like, what if we do Cronenberg for kids, right? Like, how can I put...
Cronenberg for kids? That was the pitch?
That was my pitch. And they were like, yeah, okay. Because like in the comics, his transformation is pretty morboso, it's pretty gory and it's painful at first. And I was like, how can I do it in a way that is, we can get some laughs, and that's why the family is there. Like without the family, it would be very terrific and traumatic, and it was. But it was like, how can we have fun? How can we do this in a way that doesn't... It takes a little bit because transformations are transformations, but how can we make it unique? And I think the best way to make it unique is not just witnessing the person transforming, but also kind of like living vicariously through the people that are witnessing it too. So sure, you can be scared, but Rudy made me laugh. Okay, so I can enjoy the transformation, and hopefully kids can enjoy it too.
Amazing. Talk to me a bit. Again, I noticed the anime. I also feel like there's a little Verhoeven, a little RoboCop in there. A little Starship Troopers, particularly in the commercials for the police force.
Our goal was, literally I showed them, I need to create something like, and I wanted to push it farther, but you cannot win everything. But yeah, the idea was I showed them the RoboCop videos, the Starship Troopers recruitment videos.
Yeah, you've seen them on TikTok. The I'm doing my part propaganda videos. And if you haven't seen Starship Troopers, that part lives on in even your TikTok feeds.
Yeah.
And then also, I just want to talk about the incredible music in this film. I mean, to start a superhero movie with Calle 13, and then have a battle scene with Cypress Hills that ain't going out like that. Yeah, I mean, it was talk to me about all of and how much freedom you had to sort of populate the world with our music.
Well, yeah, we did have a lot of freedom because we're Latino and they're not. So it's like, you cannot tell me what I listen to. And they were like, okay, we'll go with it. And it helped a lot because between Garrett and me, he like I said, like him being in Querétaro, Mexico, we're contemporary, maybe in Puerto Rico, we shared a lot of experiences through the arts, through TV. That's why we had Chapulín, María del Barrio, and with the music as well. Like he put a little bit of his music that he grew up listening to, and music that I grew up listening to, and also music that we both bonded, like Calle 13, Soda Stereo, Cypress Hill, and it was like, you know what? How can we? Because Latinos, we never get along, but we always get along. It's a paradox that is beautiful, right? And I think it's mainly because they want to keep us separated, but we have to tell them no, we can be together, and the arts are gonna bring us together. So I was like, instead of it is a Mexican family, but it feels like a pan-Latino family. And mainly because I wanted every man, like the whole, I made a playlist of what would be in the iPods of every family member, and I put it in a blender, and that's what came out. And the idea was, instead of alienating people because of certain cultural specificities, the family will always be Mexican, but everything around them feels pan-Latino. And I think, like, for me, the music does that, right? Like Calle 13, everybody has heard it in Latin America, and from Soda Stereo all the way north to Cypress Hill, there is a little bit that everybody can feel connected to, so that the movie speaks to them. And by using art, we can actually find more things that make us in common than what makes us different.
Absolutely. I think your movie is also proof that authenticity is what connects with people when they're watching something. You know, it's not just because it's Washington Heights, but all the biggest cheers were lines in Spanish in this movie, whether it was down with imperialism or whether it was, I mean, you snuck a lot into this movie on me.
Yeah, well, you know,
When the braids came down.
you know, like, it's, yeah, it helps that we are bilingual and they're not. Yeah, because
I always tell my kids, I go, learning Spanish is your superpower in this country, because you never know when you need the scientists working for the bad guys to switch teams and curse out Susan Sarandon.
exactly.
We have a bond.
We have a bond, and for me, like, being able to just let them be, for example, like, if there were even things that were hyper-specific, like Elpidia Carrillo, she's from Cherán in Mexico, and in Cherán, they called insects chombos. And she's like, oh, we say chombo. Say it. We'll get it. Like, I don't need to know what a chombo is to know what she means. And for me, that's kind of like the beauty of our language is it doesn't matter what we're saying, we understand what we're trying to say. And by allowing us to express ourselves authentically in the language that we know or that we master, and allowing the actors also to feel comfortable and express themselves, you cannot fake that, you know. And we wanted it to not be a watered down version of Latinidad. I would have done way more if I had it my way. And we will have it our way.
Talk to me a little bit about Susan Sarandon. I had a Rocky Horror Show flashback.
Yeah.
I was like, she's building another man. All these years later, I first saw her, I was like thinking, damn it, Janet, I love you. And you know, that's the joy of this is you have people that we bring all of their filmography with them, like George Lopez and Susan Sarandon, but then you also are making stars of Bruna and Cholo and everybody. Talk to me a little bit about Susan being a part of it and George and some of the veterans.
Well, yeah, it's I thank you for asking that because that was my favorite part. I think the family and the chemistry we were able to build with all of them is what kept me together. And seeing it work out, seeing them feel like they're a family that's been lived in. And, you know, Cholo was the first one I chose, but I always knew that I wanted Damián Alcázar and Adriana Barraza. Adriana Barraza is Nana, Damián is the father, Alberto, and they are for me the best actors that Mexico has ever giving birth. And yeah, like they are the best of the best. So I knew I wanted to work with them and I wanted them for that role. And we were lucky to get Elpidia, Predator, and I was like, if you haven't seen the first Predator, that's her breakout role. And I had a crush on her. And I was like, yeah. And then we found Belisa, that she killed it. She has a great comedic beat, but she also can rip your heart out.
It's heartbreaking.
She's so talented. And then, you know, we knew that Rudy needed to be the comic relief and also have a heart. And I remember I saw a short film where George Lopez plays the dad of a girl that's coming out. And it moved me to tears. I was like, I know he's funny, but now I also know that he can, you know, the whole thing of like when the clown gets serious, everybody listens. He can do that. And that moment when he speaks, you can feel like he really meant it. So with the nuclear family, it was very beautiful to see them work because instead of rehearsing the lines, I just wanted them to share stories about each other. So we spent a month or a couple weeks the elders sharing stories about their journey. Some of them crossed the border. Some of them were like, it was, the kids were like, oh my God, and that respect translates to love. So that way I could have them feel like they really respected all the family members, not just because they're good actors, but because of everything they had to fight in order to be where they are. And that's what we see in our fathers too, in our parents and our mothers. And then with the villains, I always wanted to work with Susan. I'm a huge fan, like you, also obsessed with her since I saw Rocky Horror Picture Show. And also I know that she is socially conscious and class conscious, and I knew she would understand what her character represents in the greater scheme of things, and how the military-industrial complex and the U.S. interventionism relates to Latin America, especially with the dark history behind the School of the Americas. And that takes us to Raúl Max Trujillo, who plays Carpax, who is probably the sweetest, kindest, soft-spoken man you're ever gonna meet. But man, you turn that camera on him and
You turned the bass up on his robot voice.
You're like, he can. And then you say, cut.
It's always the David Trejos who are the sweetest.
And he lives in a farm in New Mexico, nature. He has dogs and he raises horses. Like, oh, a beautiful guy. And then, if you guys haven't seen What We Do in the Shadows, Harvey Guillén. I'm obsessed with him. And just his performance as acting, I wanted him to have that heroic moment because, my name is Angel, and it doesn't matter how many times I say it, people keep calling me Angel. And if I explain, they say Angel. And I'm like, I did that scene for that. It's Angel Manuel Soto Vázquez, puñeta.